Number two, no gharar, right? Gharar means games of chance or maisir, gambling, right? So you're not taking any chances. You're not gambling when it comes to investing, and no exploitation or unjust dealings. So those are, some of the things that you always want to keep in mind when it comes to any transactions, not just investing, but any transactions. Are you being fair? Are you being just? Is there a chance that you might lose your principal? You might lose your money? Those are the things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to the basics of Islamic finance. Now, a lot of people ask us, like, how do you come up with the rules of halal investing? And the answer I always give them is we don't. We at Azad or any other financial firm in the United States, or even nationally, they're not coming up with the rules. We follow the rule makers. So who is the rule makers? AOFI, which stands for Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions, AAOIFI. This is an organization representing input from 8 different schools of thought. They are basically the gold standard when it comes to creating the rules for halal investing and other financial instruments as well. So, this is again something that and one of the things we want to talk about is that you need to educate yourself. Everybody should be educating themselves when it comes to halal financial transactions. And learning about AOFI and their rules and their standards and their guidelines is a great place to start.
You
And
heard me
with
right?
AI and
Yeah.
Google
Agree.
and different platforms, you can simply just Google who's AOFI, what do they do, what's some of the guidelines they put in place, and specifically, you want to learn about standards 21 and 17. These two are the ones that we at Azad are able to implement for our clients. Standard 17, it governs investments in sukuk, which is Islamic bonds. So a sukuk defining trust certificates as shared ownership in tangible assets or services. And then the standard 21, this talks about and regulates financial paper, which is shares and bonds, and it explicitly bans conventional interest-bearing bonds, but also establishes screening rules when it comes to stocks and equities. So this is the organization that has made the rules. We are just the followers of the rules that they put in place. Okay. Um, Now, what's the investment process? So, among other things, what AOFI distributes are the guidelines for halal investing. So, in general, these guidelines are designed to screen out companies that profit from interest. So, those are your banks. Obviously, alcohol, tobacco, gambling, pornography, weapon makers, companies that are heavily invested in areas of conflict, as well as insurance. So, in addition to looking at the lines of businesses, we also carefully examine the financial ratios of these companies. So, we don't invest in companies, and you as an investor should also not invest in companies who have a debt ratio greater than 30%, meaning that the total assets they have versus the debt they owe, it's higher than 30%. That is, it doesn't pass the Sharia test, as we call it. And companies must also comply with other ratios regarding their interest-bearing investments, their debt, and their liquidity. So these are all the things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to Islamic prohibition on investments and what is allowable and what is not allowable. So the number of investments out there, when you look at it, I know it can be very overwhelming, right? Is a stock halal? Is it not? Is a mutual fund halal? Is it not? Is it ETF? Is it insurance? Is a cash value? I mean, there's so much out there, and I know it could be very overwhelming. especially if you're somewhat new to investing, right? But this is where we can help, inshallah. This is where having the conversation, understanding where to start, understanding what to look for, where to start the research process, inshallah, should help. But stocks, fixed income investments like sukuks, those are the basic building blocks for most halal investment portfolios. So, a lot of times people don't know the difference, but we'll talk a little bit about them here today, inshallah. So, halal investment screening, right? So that's where it can get very overwhelming. Like, does this company deal in pork? Does this company deal in alcohol? Does this company deal in weapons, right? So, when you purchase a stock, what you have to know is that you are going to be the owner of that company. You have ownership stake in that company, and stocks sometimes are referred to as equities. And in addition to owning individual stocks, which is not usually a good idea for risk purposes, you can also hold mutual funds, ETFs, separately managed accounts. And again, as observant Muslims, we need to avoid these lines of businesses as well as companies that have heavily financial ratios in dealing with excess debt, excess receivables, as well as interest. So some people, right, they might feel unsure about investing in the financial market in general, because we all know when it comes to investing, you are taking on risk. And investing in the market is a lot more riskier than keeping your money at home under the mattress. And that's absolutely understandable. So why invest at all, right? Why should I invest at all? Well, the number one reason why you want to invest is to keep up with inflation, right? If you've been working for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and you're spending money on a day-to-day basis, you're buying gas, you're spending money on your utilities, food, you've seen the price of things gradually increase over time. And here in the last couple of years, they've drastically increased. So investing, the number one goal is to keep up with inflation so your money doesn't lose what's called buying power. Now, well, there's obviously potential for losses with investments. There's also a possibility that you'll see some very nice, significant long-term gains, right? And that's the key term there, long-term gains. So a large part of investing is about figuring out how to properly balance that risk reward, right? That's what we always talk about, is that when it comes to investing, yes, you're taking on risk, but for inshallah, a reward over a long period of time. So properly balancing that risk reward and and the risk management strategies that makes the most sense to you. And a lot of times watching the financial markets, they go up and down, right? And it can be very, very nerve-wracking, especially when there's a big decline in your portfolio or a big decline in your investments. But keep in mind that historically, periods of market turmoil, they've been normal and you should expect them. Because right after a significant decline, we've seen the market rally, come back up, and hit bigger, higher gains than it was before. And I'll just talk about just in the last 6 years. So, I started with Azad in 2019, and right beginning of 2020, what happened, right? We had COVID, correct? And COVID took basically shut everything down. Everybody was at home. The markets were in a free fall because of nobody knew what to expect. And in beginning of 2020, we saw our clients' portfolios, ours as well as the market, take 20, 30% decline. And it was just like, what, we were almost headed towards what in the financial market people called it was the second Great Depression. But then after things kind of settled a little bit, we were still locked down, but the market slowly started to rally back up towards May, right? The shutdown happened in March. The market started to rally again in May, June, July, August. And believe it or not, 2020 ended up being one of the best years of investments. And it followed what? A great decline of COVID. And we hit record highs. Then things were great in 2021, and 2022, we saw rising interest rates. Interest rates were raised by the Fed to control inflation. And inflation was high, interest rates were high, and the market again in 2022 took a dive. But then soon after 2023, it came back up and it hit another high. And again, we've saw recently as well, and when Trump became president again, he started putting in tariffs and really started causing a lot of uncertainty in the market, and the market started to react negatively to that. But things rebounded, and recently, here in the last week or so, we've hit record highs again. So that's just in the last 6 years that we've kind of seen that up and down trend. But if you go back even broader, go back to 2008, 2001, the dot-com crash, you'll see kind of the same phenomenon, right? There's a cause that affects the market negatively, followed by a significant rally, and that's where a lot of the money is typically made. And as investors, you just have to expect that and just be ready for it. And that's what we talk about, taking the long view when it comes to investments, not just the short-term market volatility. All right. And one of the most frequent pieces of counsel we offer our clients is that when it comes to times of turbulent, investors forget that's the cost. That's the cost you pay for potentially higher long-term returns. That's short-term volatility. And we've seen this again, yeah, over the last couple of years. The key is to stay invested and ride the wave. Okay. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but what I want to show you here is that if we look at the market just since 1996, clients who didn't necessarily take unnecessary action, they stayed fully invested, right? They had a much, much more significant long-term growth to their portfolio than the ones who, when volatility showed up or market decline showed up, they sold to get out of the market and then later got in. So you look at that first graph, somebody who stayed fully invested in the market and how much their portfolio would have grown from 1996 to 2025. But the second graph, look at that. If you just missed over that 30-year period, if you only missed 10 days in the market, 10 of the best days in the market, it's a 56% less growth for just 10 days over a 30-year period. Which ones are going to be these 10 days? In hindsight, we can identify them, but in the future, you cannot identify them. So staying invested at all times means that you can drastically outpace the growth of somebody who doesn't stay invested the whole time. If somebody just missed 20 of the best days, 74% less than somebody who stayed invested the entire time. And look at this, the last column, if all you did is miss 30 of the best days in the market, you would have had an 84% less return, less growth than somebody who stayed invested the entire time. So what's the lesson here? The goal is not to take on unnecessary risk. Stay invested within your risk tolerance, within your spectrum of investments that you feel comfortable with, right? We're not saying just invest everything and forget about. No, you keep your short-term investments in things like sukuk that earn you a small yield, but your long-term investments, those should be in the market so that you can get significant return, 10, 11, 12, 13% return on that money over a long period of time. So if you're new to investing, the best place to start, I would recommend would be start small, but be consistent, right? If you are working and you have a retirement plan, let's say through your job, a 401k with a match is a great place to start. Um, you're putting in money into your retirement plan. Hopefully, your employer is matching, and you're able to then contribute into that retirement plan. And inshallah, over time, that can build up. If you work for an employer for whatever reason, they don't offer a retirement plan, but you want to start investing, one of the great account types that you can set up is called a Roth IRA account. Now, there's some rules around that. Your income has to be below a certain threshold for single as well as couples, but most people, if you're just kind of getting started, opening up a Roth IRA and then investing through that account type is a great place to start. But the key is to start at any point, but be consistent, right? Consistently add money to it, $50, $100, whatever you can afford to invest, and but just stick to it and don't wait for, okay, if I get this bonus or if I get this expense paid off or I'll start at that point. The biggest thing you have in your advantage is time when it comes to it. So the longer time you have available, then the more inshallah your accounts can grow. So start investing and do it on a consistent basis. And one of the things I also want to talk about is as Muslims, we always have to remember that almost nothing is in our control, right? We have to rely on Allah. We have to have tawakkul in Allah's plan. But that doesn't mean that you don't take the necessary action and you don't balance between your effort and your reliance on Allah, right? So you have to have both, right? We always heard the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tie your camel, right? And then leave and then have trust in Allah, right? So tying your camel, doing your effort, that's where you can start to take some action steps. But the end result, how your investments grow, how things end up, that's Allah's plan because we don't know the future. We don't even know if we'll be around to see the investments, right? We could be gone tomorrow. So in essence, the tawakkul in investing from an Islamic perspective means you gotta you gotta diligently learn and do your part when it comes to investments and financial management, right? Implementing strategies to manage your risk, map out your financial goals, map out your financial plan within the boundaries of the Islamic finance principles and recognizing that the outcome is not determined by us, is determined by Allah, and place your trust in His plan. So it's a combination of both your responsibility as well as your unwavering faith and trusting in your decision over the long term after taking the means to succeed financially. That is an important part of every Muslim and our investment strategies, inshallah. So one of the things that you could do in terms of what you're able to do, the means that you're able to do is to diversify, right? When it comes to investing, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Deciding where to invest your hard-earned money, this is where you got to do some due diligence, some homework, work with an advisor if you don't want to do it yourself. But there's no such thing as a safe investment. If somebody tells you there is, somebody tells you they can double your money, somebody tells you that this is a place where you can invest and compound and grow in a short period of time, run the other way. So that's what I'm telling you. There's no such thing as a guarantee when it comes to investing in the Islamic way. So one of the common risk management strategies to minimize your risk is through diversification. And this is where you divide up your money across different types of investments, spread it out, and that should help manage your risk. So while, it's a basic strategy, it is probably the most powerful one. Because if by investing in a mix of asset classes, like a small company, a mid-size, a large, international, halal fixed income, right? You can create what's called an allocation or a portfolio. And when certain asset classes are doing well, the others might not be. And vice versa. When some like we saw in 2023, names like, Apple, Google, Facebook, Nvidia, large cap growth stocks did really well. But this year, they're not they're not the outliers. They're not leading the market. Small caps, mid caps, international, they're doing really well this year, while large caps are kind of behind the game a little bit. So having that mix allows you to have that diversification that inshallah should give you consistent returns over a long period of time. And diversification can help limit your exposure to risk to any one investment. Think about it like this. If you only invest in one stock of one company, if you do that, you are risking losing your entire investments if that company goes under. So diversification can help minimize risk. It still can't eliminate all risk, just as diversification doesn't guarantee gains. It also doesn't completely shield you from losses. There's no such thing, again, as a safe investment. If anybody tries to tell you otherwise, like I said, be wary, run the other way. Now, this is the part that I want to talk a little bit about now is I talked a little bit about when you buy into a company, you are now an owner of that company, right? So let's say Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, let's say they have 1,000 outstanding shares that are available to all investors. If you buy one share, you are now 0.00001% owner of Microsoft. So you have ownership rights. And a big part of our faith is to pursue harmony between our dunya and akhirah, right? So living out our faith in every facet of our lives. And finance is not, it's not exclude, there's no exclusion to that. So the principles of justice, transparency, social responsibility, that should guide our faith. And as Muslim investors, we are encouraged to make decisions with a focus on fairness, risk sharing, and contributing to a broader welfare of society. So what we do at Azad is, as a collective, we can engage with the companies that are involved in any way, shape, or form that is against our our Islamic faith and our values. So some of the things that we've been able to do as what we call shareholder advocacy is, as owners into these companies, we're able to engage with them. We're able to dialogue with them. And with Microsoft, as you can see on your screen, we engaged in dialogue with them. We filed a co-filed a resolution, and we were able to, with the company, remove sensitive data from their IDF services in Europe, and we got a positive vote at their December annual general meeting. With Meta, we were seeking to have dialogue. We're still waiting for a vote with them, but again, we're having dialogue. We're working with them. Same with Alphabet. So, a lot of times, and again, we've heard this here since the October 7th, since the issues with Gaza and Palestine, is to kind of, boycott everything, and that's one approach. But another approach is dialogue, right? Another approach is engaging with the firms that are taking part in some of these atrocities that are happening in those areas. So as investors, we're able to, inshallah, hopefully, with the will of Allah, dialogue with them to take some positive action, inshallah. And as we know today, corporations, they make some of the most decisions of consequences in our society. And, after politics and politicians, it comes down to corporations. And as the owner or a shareholder or a stock owner into these companies, you have a say. You have the ability to talk and engage with them. Now, if you're just a one shareholder, it might be more difficult, but collectively as a whole, and if we own millions and millions of shares, now they have to listen to us, right? And now we can, inshallah, engage in better dialogue when it comes to what we call shareholder advocacy. Some of the other things that we've done here as some of the work historically, we work with companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, we able to have dialogue with them and engage with them in many different areas. We've actually been working on issues regarding Palestine since 2019 with Microsoft. General Mills, we were able to work with them to abandon their Pillsbury plant on disputed land in East Jerusalem. Um, Even this is not on here, but we were able to engage with Chevron to exit Myanmar when there was conflict happening there as well. And I know there's still conflict happening there, but that was a big part of what we were able to do in terms of engaging with Chevron and that territory. So just some of the things to keep in mind. It's not just about us making money. It comes down to also social responsibility, right? Doing good with what you've been what you've been given by Allah, forbidding wrong, encouraging right. And these are some of the ways that you can do that as an investor. And last but not least, and I kind of want to drive this home. I did mention it a few times. There is no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. Investing is a long-term game. It's a long-term process. Like I said, if somebody tells you, you can make money overnight, run the other way. And the other part of it is, as investors, our emotions and our ability to kind of ride the market volatility also is a big part of it. And, we have to be aware of how we can manage those emotions, right? So in psychology, they talk about loss aversion, right? Loss aversion is the psychological pain of losing. It's actually more intense than the hope of gaining something of equal value, right? Your fear of losing is a lot greater than the enjoyment of gaining. So keep that in mind, understand that that's just part of who we are as human beings. That's how Allah made us. We just have to recognize it and inshallah be able to ride through it. Um, Consensus bias is another part of investing. If everybody's doing it, let's do it, right? And if everybody is going one direction, that might be the way to go, but sometimes it's not. So this is where people tend to kind of overestimate the extent of the belief and values of a collective and everybody together. But again, if it's not based on Islamic principles, you should not join the party. And then familiarity, it's safer to do things that we're familiar with. It's unsafe to do things that we're not familiar with. And when it comes to investing as a new investor, it is unfamiliar, it is scary, but 50% of the battle is just getting started. It's just opening an account, just putting in some money, and it's investing it and then doing it again and again and again. Inshallah, over time, it adds up. So staying true to our principles of investing, abiding by Islamic guidelines. This includes the fundamentals of investments, research, diversification, and these are all the core values of Islamic investing. And with that, I am done with my presentation. We can open up for Q&A. This is where I think we'll get a lot more value than simply just doing a presentation. So I will now open it up for Q&A. Sheikh Imam Ahmed, you're gonna share the questions with
Yeah,
me and then we can address them.
yeah, sure, inshallah. I see a question. Okay, I see a question here in the chat for. Let me tell people on the Zoom session here. So if you have a question, please put it in the chat. and I can share it with the speaker. And for people here in the masjid, if you have a question, yeah, inshallah, you can raise your hand. But let's take one from Zoom and one from the audience, inshallah. So I have a question here from one of the people on Zoom. It says, did the speaker mention fixed halal income stocks? Please explain how's fixed but halal.
Yes. So when it comes to fixed income, we're familiar with the traditional Western fixed income, right? Which is a bond or a CD or a money market or a treasury, right? And that structure is built on riba and it's built on usury, right? Where you put into the CD or the bond or the money market, and in return, the promisor, the government, the bank, they will give you interest. However, that's not how things operate in the Islamic world. So when you think about countries like, Pakistan, that's where I'm from, or Bahrain, or Qatar, or UAE, or Dubai, right? Indonesia, Malaysia, right? Those are predominantly Muslim countries. And guess what? They have banking, they have investments, they have, different products that people can invest in. And the Islamic version of the bond is called a sukuk, Sukuk. Sukuk is the Islamic bond. And the structure of a sukuk is it's a partnership structure as opposed to like in the Western world, it is a debtor to debtee relationship, right? So it's where I'm indebted to you, where with a sukuk, we're in partnership together. So to give you an example, let's say in Indonesia, there's a company or organization, they want to build multi-story apartment complex. And in order for them to do that, they need to raise money. Now, they put a sukuk offering out, and investors can buy into that offering. And in return, what they will give you is the income that's derived from the rentals and from the property and from the shops and all that. So it's a partnership in the project, and that's where the fixed income comes from, as opposed to here, it would be coming from an interest. Does that make sense? So halal fixed income, we actually have a product at Azad. It's a publicly available mutual fund. The ticker symbol is WISE-X. So WISEX, WISE-X. And it is comprised of about 80 plus different sukuks. It has Islamic bank deposits in there. Same thing. So when you do banking in the Muslim world, the bank shares in the profits with their customers, and they have a whole structure set up to do that. So this is available now in the United States. It wasn't available for a very long time. We were the first to bring this to the market. Our mutual fund is the oldest halal fixed income fund that has been available to Muslim investors in the US. And it yields on average around 3% a year. Again, it's no guarantees. It's based on incomes that are derived from the sukuk, but the historical return is around 3%. And again, this is what makes it halal. It's a partnership structure where we're in partnership together as opposed to we're indebted to somebody. Does that answer the question? I think hopefully it does.
Jazakallah khair. We have questions here from the audience. We'll take the first question. Yeah, let's take the question from the brother and then inshallah go over it. Let's see if this one will. Yeah, okay, you can speak now.
Yeah. So tell me more about like what is Azad? Is it like a brokerage? Is it like a managing company? So how you manage the funds? Like we need to open an account with Azad, or like can you tell us more about what is Azad actually? So how you help us to build wealth for us?
Yeah, so Azad we're not a broker. We are a registered investment advisor. So we're advisors. So we advise our clients. So we have clients that come on board that we will manage on behalf of them. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
we can help our clients to invest because not everybody wants to do it themselves. They're happy to allow somebody else who abides by the principles to do it. And obviously, we charge a fee for it, but that's what our role is. But that's not to say that somebody can't do it on their own. So somebody could easily set up an investment account at, let's say, Fidelity, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Charles Schwab, Robinhood, right? There's so many platforms out there. And on those platforms, in your investment accounts, you can buy the Azad mutual funds. You can buy Amana or Wahid or Sharia, right? There's so many out there now. Alhamdulillah, that's the good thing, and it's growing every year. We're growing in terms of the Islamic marketplace for halal investments. But that's where if you're going to do it yourself, that's where you have to put in the effort and the time and the actual know-how to do it. And it's not hard. You just are committing to doing it yourself. But people who come to Azad, they are too busy. They're doctors or they just don't want to do it. They're willing to let us do it for them. And that's who we are. We're a firm that can help you in terms of managing your investment portfolios. And then with that comes many other aspects, right? We do financial planning, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, Islamic inheritance planning. Um, we're certified financial planners, so our know-how and our extensive knowledge uh, gives us or makes us somewhat experts in this area, and and that's how we're able to help clients do that. We've helped families and clients, like I said early on in the presentation, all across the United States, and we continuing to grow as a firm. But yeah, so that's our role is that we're able to help clients do it for the ones that don't want to do it themselves.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions following up on that question for the brother here, Brother Raj, if you don't mind. So the first one is you said that you guys, anyone wants to open an account with you, you can do that, help them out, and there's fees. And would like to know more about the fees and also what will be the minimum amount or like wealth that they have that you
Yeah.
guys should be able to help them or start building their portfolio. Jazakallah khair. Place
No,
your
that's a great question. So we do have a minimum, and our minimum is $500,000 in total investable assets to have that relationship in terms of us being able to help you. Which I know can seem like a big number, but in reality, if you start investing and saving early on, most people can hit that, inshallah, within their 10, 15, 20 years of professional work. So again, it is $500,000 for somebody who's just starting out could seem very overwhelming, but with time, inshallah, you can accumulate those assets. In America today, most retirees, if you ever plan to retire, you're going to need to amass somewhere around $2 million, if not more, to have a comfortable retirement. So starting to save and invest early is the key to getting there. Um, and so that's our minimum, $500,000. Our average fee for our investors, it varies depending on their risk tolerance and how much what their allocation mix is. But on average, it comes out to be about 1.3 to 1.4, which is kind of the industry standard when it comes to investments and using a certified financial planner and a money manager. Somewhere between 1.3, 1.4 on average is our fee. And yeah, so that's kind of just some of the basics of how somebody would work with Azad.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for clarifying that. We have a
Yeah.
question on Zoom, and then we're going to turn back to the audience here.
Sure.
I see someone was saying like, what is your fee? And I guess you mentioned that's 1 point
Between
what?
1.3 and
What?
1.4.
Between
Yeah.
1.3 and 1.4
Yeah.
percent
Yes.
from the investment. And this is
Correct.
yeah, what you just answered. This is for a question for Sister Leila. There was the question earlier, is it halal to invest in companies that support genocide? Those that are on the boycott list, that have financial mutual funds that doesn't include those.
So we have a screening process. We actually have our own proprietary software. There's a lot out there now. There's Zoya, and I think there's Sharia Portfolios has one on their website as well. So there's a lot of screening tools that are out there. And some of the companies that are on the boycott list, believe it or not, do pass the Islamic screening because we look at the revenue. We look at the revenue sources of these companies, and as long as those revenue sources are coming from, coming from halal sources, they're not impermissible, they're not coming from alcohol, tobacco, or weapons, they're coming from halal sources, then that company passes the screening process. But then we do have a Sharia advisory board that does look at the company and see how involved are they in this genocide? How involved are they in human rights? How involved are they in actually profiting from these types of actions that are being taken against the Palestinians and against different areas of conflict, right? So, yes, it is very, it's not a simple yes or no. It has to be looked at on a company by company basis to determine if it is a company that we can invest in. But like, I'll give you an example. Let's say like, company like Palantir, right? Palantir is a technology company, it's an AI company. It's based on, there's no alcohol, tobacco, pork, none of that. They don't even make their own weapons. But we know 100% they're profiting from this genocide. So it can pass the Sharia compliance based on their lines of business, but upon further review, we know they're profiting from this. So we're not going to invest in Palantir. So it has to be looked at on a each company by company situation and circumstance.
Jazakumullah khair. See
Yeah.
if we can ask questions from the sisters. If not, we can move to the brothers here. Any questions, sisters here? Okay, inshallah, if you have more questions, we can list you and get the questions here. Brother Rida, I had a question earlier.
Yeah, but investing in a company that sells diverse products that they have, for example, Amazon, they sell also like haram stuff, right? Like alcohol and stuff. So I kind of see the difference between some scholars say that it's okay, some scholars say no. What about Azad opinion?
Yeah. That's a great question. And I'm glad you asked that because I don't think I got to that part in my presentation. So Amazon is not in the business of selling alcohol or selling tobacco or anything like that, right? Same thing with like your local grocery store, right? You go to like in the East Coast, we have like Walmart and Sam's Club and Costco and BJ's and all these, but they're not primarily in the business of alcohol and tobacco. However, they do sell it, correct? They have it as part of their revenue source. So one of the AOFI rules, and we talked about AOFI, right? AOFI makes the rules, right? One of the rules that AOFI has put in place is when you look at the company's sources of revenue, if the non-halal sources exceed 5% or more of their total revenue, then it does not pass the halal screening test. So if the total impermissible revenue is more than 5%, it doesn't pass and you shouldn't invest in it. And Amazon, it doesn't pass. We don't hold Amazon in our portfolios because at one point it was around 3%, but recently it's exceeded over 6%. So we can't invest in Amazon. But let's say it happened to be 3%. Now what, right? Now we can invest. However, it doesn't stop there. The 3% revenue that we as investors are benefiting from, we can't keep that money. We have to purify it. So we have to give that out. That's called purification. And at Azad, we're able to calculate that for our clients, and we're able to tell them on a daily basis how much impermissible benefits they've had in their portfolio from all the different companies that are in their account. And usually every Ramadan, what we do is we give our clients their zakat calculation as well as their purification calculation. So that allows them to then purify their money, purify their investments, purify their account, and cleanse it essentially. So the AOFI rule is 5% or more, don't invest. If it's less than 5% and you can figure out purification, then do it. And that's one of the values of becoming an Azad client. One of the things we do is we calculate that for our clients. I think that answers your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any more question? Any other questions? Yes, please. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for walking us through the Islamic concept of investment. I have a couple of questions. Number one is just to overview because I'm new to the investment. So you said everything starts with opening an account. For example, we can open an account in Fidelity or Robinhood, and then we can buy fixed, fixed income.
You can buy, mutual funds. You can buy Amana, Azad, Sharia portfolios. They're all available. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the starting point. And you mentioned you offer the financial advising for like someone who is starting with $500,000. So I was wondering, like, what is the advising you offer for someone who is just starting? I assume for $500,000, we can honor you to the full-time advice.
Yeah.
Right? But what about the people who are just starting?
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that, in working with you guys, inshallah, if somebody wants to have a conversation on how to get started, what to do, where should they invest, if they're brand new, I am happy to have a conversation with everybody individually here and do it at no cost, inshallah, and help everybody out. And that's where, I think I can provide some value to everybody. Ongoing help, ongoing support, long-term, planning and things like that. That's where, you'd have to become an Azad client. But in order to get anybody started, help, I'm more than happy to help. I do this all the time with people who don't meet our minimums. They just need some sort of guidance and kind of point them in the right direction. And that's for a new investor and a beginner person. Like I said, 50% of the battle is just getting started. And then the other 50% is just consistently doing it. And that's where, if you want to have a one-on-one meeting with me, I'm more than happy to help you do it. And inshallah, we can get you started. We are, at the end of the day, a small business. We have about 17 employees. So our resources are limited. But inshallah, we're growing. And our future long-term, inshallah, our plan is to eventually get to a point where we can help whoever wants the help. And inshallah, we'll get there with adding more staff and adding more people to the company so we don't have limited resources. So inshallah, our plan is eventually to get to a point where we can serve whoever wants the help. We're just not there yet. Inshallah, we'll get there with Allah's help. But in the meantime, if you or anybody needs help, I'm more than happy to help, inshallah.
So I should be able to schedule the appointment from the website.
Correct. So after this meeting, I'll send out the presentation with all of my information. I have a Calendly link as well an email that anybody here can get on my calendar, schedule an hour-long session at no cost, and we can get on a meeting like this and inshallah discuss whatever you want to discuss. We can talk about it, inshallah. No problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
So I just had the same question as the brother here, but alhamdulillah, he asked the same question because I guess that's in a lot of
Yeah.
people's minds how to start even if we're not there yet.
Yeah. I know. I get it. I'm telling you, everybody starts at zero. Nobody starts at 500,000. Everybody starts at zero. Inshallah, we'll build it up. But yeah, I get it. I'm with you guys. I'm more than happy to help. And inshallah, we can get as many people started as possible.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Are you able to share the link, like where they can contact you directly? I know you mentioned it's on the website for Azad, right?
It's so my personal my work email, it's Raj, R-A-J, my first name, Raj at azadasset.com. Feel free to email me there. Feel free to send a question or anything, just send it there. I'll respond. I'll also, if you send me an email, hey, I want to schedule a meeting with you, I'll send you a link to my calendar. You can just click it and book a time that's available on my calendar.
Can you say the email one more time? I'm going to type in the chat. It's Raj.
It's Raj, R-A-J, at Azad, A-Z-Z-A-D, asset, A-S-S-E-T, at Raj at azadasset.com.
Okay, Raj at azadasset.com.
Correct.
Okay. I put it in the chat here.
Let me
be able to see it, right? In the chat.
Raj at azadasset.com. Exactly. Yep. That's it.
Everybody can see it.
Yep.
Yes, can see it. Raj at azadasset.com.
Smooth. Azad asset manage.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So again, like I said, I'm happy to help anybody, everybody. As long as my calendar next week might be full, but the week after it'll be open. So get on there and let's talk. I'm happy to help.
So just they would email you and ask you about your availability, and you tell them your availability schedule. Okay, sounds good, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. We have a question from one of the sisters here, and we have another question from one of the brothers, and we'll come back to the audience, the people on Zoom. We can get some of the questions on Zoom as well. So yes, please go ahead.
My question is actually the one in the chat about Roth IRA versus 401k.
Yeah.
Which one to do? Which one's better?
Okay, sounds good. So it's the same question. So get two in one here, which is talking about it's the same question for Sister Sophia in the chat. Can you simplify further for those new to the US and newer to the investing about the Roth IRA versus the 401k and what their advantage are and how they are halal?
Okay. I also just dropped in the chat my calendar link. So that's there as well. So if anybody wants to grab that and schedule a meeting, you can do it right through that link. So that's there as well. So yeah, the question is 401k versus Roth IRA. So 401k is typically an employer provided plan. So it's something that your employer offers, right? Where a Roth IRA, you can set up on your own without the need or help of an employer. So both, and you could do both, right? If you have a job and they're offering a 401k with a match, definitely take advantage of that match. It's free money. It's a benefit that you as an employee are entitled to. So do the 401k. But in addition to that, if you can do Roth IRA, do that as well. And now you have more money invested in compounding and growing. But the when it comes to the kind of the what's the main difference? It's Roth is tax deferred. I'm sorry, 401k is tax deferred, meaning that the money that you put in there, eventually you're going to pay tax on this when you withdraw it in retirement. The money you put in the Roth, this is after tax money. And when it grows and grows and grows, and you go to use this money in retirement, you're not going to pay any taxes on that money. So it grows in two different ways. One is a tax deferred to later. Roth is tax free. So that's kind of the fundamental difference of both. But do both. Take advantage of the 401k with the match. And in addition to that, separately do a Roth as well.
What is the max for the Roth IRA for a person to invest or for a couple to put every year?
Every year it grows by a little bit, but it's 7,500 for this year is the maximum that per individual can contribute under the age of 50. So if you're a couple, 7,500, 15,000 maximum. If you're over the age of 50, they allow you an extra $1,000. So it's 8,500 for anybody 50 or above. That's the maximum. 401ks, the maximum for somebody under age 50 is 24,500 for this year. So if you're a couple, you maximize your 401k at work, your spouse maximizes the 401k at their work, you're putting away almost $50,000 just in 401ks before there's anything that goes in as a match. So you see how you can really, as a family, really grow and get to 500,000 or million, in just maybe 5-10 years if you do it aggressively that way. So yeah, those are some of the maximum numbers that you want to know. But no organization that you set up these accounts with will allow you to exceed the maximum allowable. So if you're worried about, oh, do I need to figure out what if I go over the accounts, the way they're set up, they won't even accept any money if you've exceeded the maximum. So
আমি যে হালাল ইনভেস্টমেন্টের কথা বলছিলাম না, এই সেশনটা এখন চলতেছে। আমি তো
So that's a question that I might have. I get to ask questions too, right?
yes.
So
Yes.
since you talk about like the start amount that Azed can do, like, do you know like there's any other Islamic companies or institutions that can help with list that amount, or most of the Islamic companies this is the start point?
So I know when it comes to getting somebody from the organization to do it, as an advisor relationship to do it for you as a client, most firms have a minimum. It might not be as high as 500,000. Some might be 100,000. Some might be 250, but they do have a minimum. But there are other firms that just allow you to just open an account online and just start investing and doing it yourself. Like I think Wahid allows you to do that. You can just go onto their website, set up an account. They might have a very small minimum, but essentially everything you're doing yourself. So that's the key difference is with any other firm, if you do it yourself, then you shouldn't pay anybody because why pay? What are you paying for? I'm doing the investment myself. Why am I paying you? But when you are working with an advisor or a firm like ours, we're doing a lot. We're doing the financial planning, the retirement planning, the zakat calculation, the purification calculation, the ongoing financial advice, tax planning, right? These are all the services that you get as a client of a investment advisory firm like ours. So that's where the fee comes in.
Jazakumullah khair. I'll take a question from the chat and then I'll come back to you, inshallah.
Sure.
So this is a question here. It's been there for a little bit. Talks about, can you detail what are the FT, SE, and the AA or IFI?
I'm not familiar with FTSE, but AOFI is like the gold standard when it comes to rules and regulations and guidelines for financial products globally. So AOFI rules and regulations and standards, that's typically what most financial institutions abide by. So if you look at like any Islamic investment firm website or talk to them, or even lending firms like Guidance and other firms, you'll see in there something that says AOFI compliant, or we follow AOFI guidelines, because AOFI is the gold standard when it comes to creating these rules and standards when it comes to all these different financial instruments. So that's what we follow. And I believe most firms follow that. FTSE, I'm not familiar with them. I will make a note to look them up and learn more about them. And inshallah, I see the question here is from Brother Yusuf Abdul Hamid. I will do my homework on FTSE, and if we schedule a meeting, by then I should have it done and we can talk about it then, inshallah.
It's what? The FTSE, yeah, I see. Like I did a quick research about the FTSE. It says refers to a stock market index or something like that.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
then we're talking about two different things, right? AOFI is a body that makes these rules. FTSE, if they're talking about the FTSE index, that's a total. It's apples and oranges, where that is simply a indexing investment benchmark that other portfolios should either mirror or keep up with or outperform.
We have a couple questions here from the audience. Like one from the brother and one from the sister child. We start with the brother here today. Can you raise your voice a little bit so I can hear you?
Yeah. So you mentioned there's an amount for folks sign up with that. Does that include 401ks and so on, or not? And would these all these funds have to be invested with that fund, or can they be invested with other current funds?
You mean to repeat
Sorry,
the question?
can you repeat that? I didn't hear it. I know
Yeah,
I heard something about 401k, but I didn't hear the question.
No, the question is simply, it says that you're talking about the start amount to invest with Azad. That amount, does it include like the assets as 401k and any other assets, or just like the money that they have in the bank account as savings or
No, total. It could be IRAs, 401ks. I mean, spouse accounts, joint account. It could be that's called a household. As a household, total investable assets. So total, yeah.
Could be money that they pay towards the house that will be considered as asset, like any kind of an asset that will be calculated under that amount as a start point, or just
if it's not in the house as equity, no, that's not what. But if it's money that they're earmarking and setting aside for a down payment or something like that, yes, all that counts. Yes.
Did you answer the question? We have a question from one of the sisters here. Charles is going to share the question. Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay, so kind of like following up that Roth and IRA, I have like two jobs. One offers a PERS, and the other one, they do have like a thrift savings plans. I'm still kind of new on myself, so would that fit in there somewhere with try and make it halal or?
Yeah. So you're a federal employee, right? Basically, so you're working with the government, correct?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So the TSP, the Thrift Savings Plan, I learned this recently, and this is where something that you may also want to kind of educate yourself and maybe ask the benefits team as well, is they are allowing you as TSP account holder to pick your own investments. So that's so with a lot of 401ks, retirement accounts, you have a lineup of maybe 10, 15 different investments, right? That are pre-selected for you, and you have to select those as your investments, right? Some of them are like, retirement 2045, retirement 2050. They're called target date funds. So those are your standard investments inside of a typical retirement plan, like a 401k or a TSP, or even your retirement plans at universities and hospitals. Those are 403bs. But now more and more plans are allowing you, the participant, to go outside of that pre-selected list and pick your own investments. And that's where we can help. So I believe the TSP allows that. I believe more and more 401ks are allowing that. And if that's the case, then going outside of that pre-selected list to pick a halal mutual fund, an Azad mutual fund, or an Amana mutual fund, or a Wahid ETF, or a Sharia portfolios ETF should not be a problem, and you should be able to invest that money in a halal way.
Yeah, answer the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Jazakallah khair for the Raj. And see question earlier in the chat here. It says, if we schedule an appointment with you, how can we get, how to be better prepared?
Yeah, just know some of the benefits that are available to you through your job. So understanding, what's available as your benefits, asking your employer, or at least finding out from your employer if your 401k or retirement plan allows for self-directing, which means like picking your investments. So if you have that answer, I can kind of guide you on how to do that after the fact. But some plans don't allow it. So finding out if your 401k allows for self-directing or picking your own investments, that would be a question that you want to get answered before our meeting. And then from there, there isn't much from there. It's just more, let's talk. Let's identify where you stand now. What is your, age, time horizon, financial outlook, financial uh, income, discretionary income, right? Those are things that we can definitely talk about as we do the meeting. So.
Jazakallah khair. We have one of the brother in the back here has a question. Okay, so these are the questions. Okay, ciao. Okay, it's a question from the chat and the audience here. It says, can you roll over the 401k to Roth IRA? And is 401k withdrawal considered to be ordinary income similar to earned income or tax purposes? So these are the questions from the chat.
Yeah. 401k withdrawals are ordinary income. So similar to like your income that you're currently earning, your W-2, your wages, 401k withdrawals are going to be ordinary income. And moving money from a 401k to a Roth is considered a conversion. So when you do that conversion, and there's multiple steps, you first have to move the 401k to an IRA, and then from the IRA, move it to a Roth IRA. So there's multiple steps. But when the money actually ends up in a Roth account, the year that it does, it is going to count as income for you that year. So just be prepared for taxes. That's it. So, but if you can calculate your tax burden in advance and it's not that significant, and maybe you have some losses to offset, or you don't have a high income year and your taxes burden is not going to be that much, it may make sense to do that. But we have to look at the big picture, right? You don't just want to take action and move money from a 401k, which is pre-tax money, to after-tax money without calculating what your tax burden will be. Because if it ends up being $20,000, $30,000 in taxes, it may not be worth it. But doing it in small pieces may be worth it, right? So these are things that we would have to assess more on an individual basis to see if it makes sense. But to answer the question is, it is considered a taxable event. But moving it from a 401k to a traditional IRA or a rollover IRA, that is not a taxable event. So you can definitely do that and start to manage your own money or invest that way. But yeah, to get it to a Roth IRA, there is going to be a tax. There's going to be taxes that are going to be due.
Jazakumullah khair. You have more questions? You got a question? Somebody had a question? Yeah. Yes, please.
My question is regarding purification calculation.
Is it what?
Purification calculation.
Purification
Do
calculation.
you do that as a service to non-clients? And if yes, what's their fees?
Okay. The brother has a good question here. It said like it talks about the purification calculation. Do you guys do it as a service to non-clients? And do you guys charge for it?
For non-clients, so for us to do purification, we have to track it, right? So from the moment that we bought this company into your portfolio or into your account, we are tracking purification on a daily basis. And it accumulates and accumulates. And then by Ramadan, we have the calculation for our clients to then go purify your money. It's very difficult for us to do that retroactively by going backwards. So we do it as this is the moment we bought this for you and we were able to do it. So it is a service primarily for our clients because it's just hard to do it retroactively. Plus the investments themselves, if you bought or you had let's say a mutual fund, for example, that is let's say a Fidelity fund or a Vanguard fund or anything like that. In a mutual fund, you have 150 different companies. And let's say 50 of them deal with either, alcohol, tobacco, weapons, right? All the things that we shouldn't benefit from. Well, you shouldn't have invested in that company to begin with. So any benefit you earn from that, you should have purified and not take any benefit from there, right? So it's very difficult to do when it's not our own investments because we can track our own investments.
Other questions? Yes.
So that investment of $500,000, is that upfront or over the 3 years they expect?
Is it upfront or what? The $500,000?
It's like a contract that you have to invest $500,000 over 5 years, kind of like a job or any money, or is it upfront amount you have invested?
Is it the $500,000? Is it like the upfront amount, or this is like you can sign a contract within 5 years? I'm gonna have that as amount of money within that period of time.
So yeah, no, the minimum is the starting point. But I mean, we're not literal down to the exact dollar. If somebody is around total investable assets of 400, 350, it's fine. We can start in terms of working with you. And we know, inshallah, with adding money over time, we'll get there. So it's not as literal as if you're at 4,999, we can't work with you. It's not like that. But it's, let's talk, inshallah. Like I said, I'm happy to engage in dialogue with everybody, and each person's situation is different. And it may make sense for us to onboard you and bring you as a client with a lot less because maybe you're aggressively saving and we know we can get you there through your aggressive, maybe you're a high income earner, you're aggressively saving and we can get you there in a very short period of time. So each situation is different. Let's talk, inshallah. And if we can help, we will.
So yeah, for those who want to talk to you, brother Raj, we have the schedule meeting link in the chat. I'm going to post it again. And I see another question in the chat, and I'm sure you answered it before, but if you don't mind, answer it again. It says, how much is the fee to get a Z service?
It's going to be somewhere between 1.3 to 1.4. In some cases, it may be even lower than that. It just depends on, the gist of everything we're going to be doing for you. But that's kind of what the anticipated number should be. On average, somewhere between 1.3, 1.4 as an annual fee of your total assets that we manage. Yeah.
I don't know what happened, brother Raj, and just froze here. For those who wants the link to schedule with brother Azad, I have it with me on the phone. I can see a way that I can share it with you guys. So I can do that. Or if you guys
Just
want
going
to
through
get
the chat, I think we got all the
for a
ones
minute,
through the
so,
chat.
yeah.
Yeah.
You froze for a second. We didn't hear you what you said.
Oh, so I was going through the chat, and I believe we answered all the questions through the chat. So I was
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience here? Okay. I'd like to thank you, Brother Raj, on behalf of the ICCH and the audience here. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the time. And inshallah, just for everybody on Zoom and everybody here in the masjid, just letting you know, for those who are here, we're going to have lunch, inshallah, starts in a couple of minutes. Hopefully the lunch is outside. And we're going to have another session, starts at 12. So inshallah, we have another session from 12 to 1:30, two other speakers, inshallah. And you can look at the details on the ICH community announcement. And for those who are on Zoom, inshallah, we're going to send you the link again for Zoom. So inshallah, you can join for the next session. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you, everybody. My pleasure. Inshallah, talk soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you. Alaikum assalam. Well, the answer, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this. Inshallah, looking forward to seeing you on the next session, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. For those who are in Zoom, if you're close by or nearby, would like to come and join, inshallah, for the next sessions, for the watch party, that would be great. Brother Yasser and everybody, inshallah, Jazakumullah khair. I'm going to end the Zoom session here, inshallah. Thank you.
Continue or the same?
No, it's going to be a different speaker.